Hi, everyone. Welcome back to As Told by Zink with your host, Samantha, recording a solo podcast in the studio. Do not worry. I know this is my fourth in a row, and y'all are getting sick and tired of my pretty little voice. I'm going to have so many guests just booked and lined up after this one that you guys will start to miss me, I promise. But I'm getting everything prepped and prepared, and I was building my podcast team, which is really exciting because essentially I was doing a lot of like the bookings and everything myself, and just bandwidth would not allow anymore. And I want to start filming everything, like solo podcast, obviously my guests. Lots going on. So thank you for bearing with me while I'm putting together like a really nice schedule for you all. But I'm excited. We're going to have some really amazing people coming on, and a nice mix of people at that, which is really fun. I just love you guys already know. When guests come on, I'm like, y'all inspire me. I'm feeling motivated. Also, can we be best friends? Like, that's just sort of my mentality. Whenever I do the solo episodes, it's usually me in my sweatsuit or pajamas on the couch or my bed. But yeah, now I got ready. I put makeup on for the first time in God knows how long, and a dress, and I came into the studio because my social team said they need more video content. So here we are. And yeah, I'm excited to really just dive into something that I've been thinking about lately. And I know it's going to resonate with a lot of you listening. And it's something that is so, I don't know, it's so big, but so small, right? It's just something about our life, and what we forget that we don't need to always control. So I'm going to dive in, and as always, please, listen on a walk, over wine, in a bubble bath, like really just like listen, take it all in. Let me know if it resonates. I never want an episode that doesn't bring some sort of value. And I really do feel like this one will stick with you guys and make you think, and hopefully have you take a step back from being so in control of your life. What does this mean? So a lot of us are so guilty of wanting to be in control of every aspect of our life and having timelines and plans and forcing things. And when you want to be so in control of your life and you're forcing everything, then as things start, moving forward and not going your way, or you're settling, you're not going to feel happy and fulfilled about your choices and about your results. And I was thinking about my life the other day and just sort of where I am now and before. You just like certain relationships and friendships and jobs. And I realized the best things in my life happened on like complete accident, which is crazy. Not forced, not planned. I wasn't deep into a dating app wanting a boyfriend or a relationship. I wasn't like so fixated on a career that I had to work at a certain place. Every blessing in my life has been 100% accidental, or what I like to say, chosen by destiny. And that made me think like, how many people are out there trying to like force everything in their life to like a T how they want it to go, and not really just like taking their hands off of the planning and the day-to-day and present living, and letting the universe just guide them to their destination. And it's crazy because I was guilty of this for so long. I was, aimlessly on dating apps, who he looks like a good guy, he checks all the boxes. We'll go on a date. Maybe we'll be in a relationship, or I'm going to apply for these jobs and I guess I'll just stay in PR because it's all I know. There were so many times or I'll stay in New York City because it's all I know. I didn't want to get out of my comfort zone. I sticked with what I knew. And I followed something that looked good on paper, but not necessarily bringing myself fulfillment with my choices. Then one day, as I'm working my 9-to-5 PR job at New York Fashion Week, I am on the subway and I have this epiphany. Do you think that I went to school to be a business owner, to be a podcast host, to be, I'm definitely in a lot of different projects right now, but I had never planned to be in any of these projects. It was truly destiny bringing me to all of these things, which is crazy because I did plan a lot in my life. PR, I planned it. I went to school for PR. I looked for a PR internship, looked for a PR job. When I left that PR job, I went to a different PR job. It was all strategically planned to fit in my comfort zone and what I knew. And on that subway that one day, as I'm so delusional from New York Fashion Week, as you can imagine, and I'm sitting there and the universe plants a seed in my mind. You need to manage influencers. You need to be a business owner. You need to leave this comfort zone of PR and pioneer your own way. And this is 2017. There were hardly any influencer management agencies out there. So it was unheard of. It was rare. It was crazy. But I followed that little voice inside of me because I knew, the intuitive person that I am, that I needed to move forward in this direction because blessings were on the other side. Success was on the other side. Wealth was on the other side. And there's a lot of people in the world that don't listen to that quiet voice inside of them and instead move forward with comfort and structure and security and stability instead of taking a risk on something that could bring them to a much larger, more successful, blissful destination. But I listened to that little voice. But the funniest thing is I never wanted to be a business owner. Never dawned on me to be an entrepreneur. I never got experience being a business owner or managing people. I mean, sure, I managed people below me in PR, but I had to figure it all out because I knew that that was my destiny, that would bring me fulfillment, happiness, bliss, all of the things that I wanted in this world. Of course, it didn't happen overnight. That's the funny thing about destiny, right? Is it builds and you have to really appreciate the journey and go with the flow. But that was not something that I planned. It was a thought planted, a seed planted in my mind. You need to manage influencers. You need to start this business. You need to go in this direction. And I listened to that little voice, and that same day I started building. I didn't wait for it. I didn't wait for the timing to be right. I didn't wait for to have the resources or the connections. I took what I had and I started building and I started creating and I started moving forward. I took action. A lot of people out there don't listen to that voice, and instead they stay in jobs that they hate, that they're underpaid, overworked, that they find zero purpose in, zero fulfillment. They're honestly not even noticed by their boss. Maybe they have to go to work every day, like in an actual office, and that's not something that they want to do anymore. There's so many people that stay in what they're trying to force and trying to plan that they aren't just taking a step back and just letting the universe guide them to where they need to go. My biggest advice is to sort of like let go of the steering wheel, lose control, stop having to be in control of every little thing in your life, work especially, and let go of the steering wheel. Jesus, take the wheel, as they like to say, and see where the universe brings you, and listen to that little voice, that little intuitive voice inside of you. What is he saying? What is she saying? Where do I need to go? Where do I need to be? Do I need to switch locations? I had another little voice, and I like to call this my epiphany. These are all my epiphanies, if you will. And I had another little voice when it was 2020, the pandemic. I was going on, I think, my 8th year in New York City. I was living in, I guess, Airbnb in Florida for the pandemic. We all escaped to New York City. And I had this epiphany, which was so random, thinking like, I love the beach here, but it's too slow. I'm not a Florida type of person. I need a city. I can't live somewhere like Delray Beach, as lovely as it is. I'm too young and I need more energy. But what is in between New York and Florida? that would really check all my boxes and make me happy, because New York wasn't it anymore. I had a wake-up call, and Florida wasn't the destination. It was a great place to visit, but I didn't see myself happy there. And this little voice said, move to LA. And you know what I did? The same week, I started shopping for homes online. They did virtual tours at this time because of the pandemic, so it worked out great. I had only been to LA a few times for work, so I didn't know the areas. I wasn't familiar with anything. I barely had any friends. I think I knew one person in LA. So this was high risk, totally out of my comfort zone. But again, I had this voice inside of me being like, you need to move to LA. That's your next destination. That's next in your journey. You need to go. And I found this cute home. I got accepted. And I'm telling you, this all happened within a few weeks. I had the idea, started looking for homes, found a home, got accepted. And then my lease was up in New York. So I flew back home and I got rid of everything in my apartment. I got rid of all of my belongings except for what I could fit into one suitcase. And that's all I had left. I started purchasing things for my new home in LA and having a TaskRabbit put it all in. And it was actually kind of nice because when I arrived, I didn't arrive to a completely empty home. You know, I did have the basics, my bed and like a couch and truly just the basics, and I would build from there. But I got rid of everything that I had ever known in my life in that apartment, and I grabbed one big suitcase, my dog, and we left to LA. When I moved to LA, it was exciting. It was nerve-wracking. It was crazy. I knew one person. It was the pandemic. I couldn't even make other friends if I wanted to. All of the restaurants were like on lockdown, and you know, things did slowly start opening up, and I did start meeting people. But you know, what's crazier than moving to a city during the pandemic when you can't even meet new friends or make new relationships or just get out there and communicate with anybody? But I had this little voice that I had to listen to, and I made the move, and I flew to LA, and I fell in love. I fell in love with everything that LA had to offer. Again, this is just a small percentage of it because it was the pandemic, September 2020. So I was seeing this small percentage of what LA was, not knowing how amazing it is. And I realized that New York was for my 20s and LA was for my 30s. And this was the next stop in my journey on my destination. And when I moved here, let me tell you, everything started opening up for me. My business started getting insanely successful, rapidly growing. It was like overnight success as soon as I moved to LA. And I feel so strongly it was about changing locations. Again, there's so many people in this world that just stay in the same small hometown or the city that they have grown to love and have their best friends and they have their comfort in. And they don't think, maybe I take that risk and I listen to that little voice that tells me that I need to move to this new city or new destination. And what I have noticed with these people, and I have a few friends who are guilty of this, and they come to me and they're in big cities, you know, I would say New York or San Diego, and they keep dating, right? They keep dating and nothing aligns. They go on wonderful dates and they're wonderful women and they should be in relationships. But I'm talking years, haven't had a boyfriend in years. Nothing is aligning. Then their job, like hopping, a different job every single year. That's not aligning. Nothing is working out for them. And they'll come to me and say, you know, they won't complain because they're amazing women with a positive energy and attitude about the whole thing. But they're like, oh, I went on another date and, you know, this isn't aligning for me, or I'm looking for another job. And I go, I truly believe that nothing is aligning for you because you need to move somewhere else. Do you ever have a little voice inside of you that says, I need to move to Miami or LA or to a small town? Do you ever have that voice? Because that voice, you're not listening to that voice. And I know it's there because if you are meant to stay in this city or state, wherever you are, everything would align and it would make sense and you would feel happiness. But if you're not able to find yourself in a relationship that's sticking, or you can't find a partner, or if you can't find a job that is long-term, that's the universe telling you, get out, because this is not your long-term location. You need to move somewhere else. And once you move, everything will make sense. You'll find that partner that you love, a soulmate connection. You'll start dating immediately. Everything will move so quickly. The job that you land, you finally are heard in this job and you're making a lot of money. And the home that you move into, it's the home of your dreams. You feel at peace in this home and it's everything that you could ever imagine. And all of these things are lining up because this was your destination. This is where you're supposed to be right now. I don't know about forever, but you'll get signs when you're supposed to move again, if you're supposed to move again, because things again will stop aligning and it won't make sense and you'll lack clarity. And the universe will be pushing you out of wherever that may be. So listen to these signs. Like, if you're not meant to be in a location, the universe will make it so you have to leave. But some people are just comfortable and they settle and they take all of those dreadful situations and live with it the rest of their life, because they won't just leave comfort and move somewhere else and take a risk and, just start over. Everyone's so afraid to start over, but it's such a beautiful thing. And I wish more people did it. When I moved to LA, I'm telling you, I met amazing friends right off the bat. Relationships, my job was just taking off, everything. And I was like, wow, imagine if I didn't listen to that little voice when I was in Florida. Imagine if I didn't make that move. Imagine if I was still stuck in New York. My business could have just not taken off and I wouldn't have a business and I'd be back in PR, or I'd be in a toxic relationship, or I wouldn't be in any relationship at all. There's so many things. Or I'd be living in a small apartment still and not happy in my 30s, or not feeling fulfilled or purpose from a city that once did bring me happiness at a certain point in my life, in my timeline. So location, huge. Stop trying to be in control of where you're living and being stagnant and not leaving your comfort zone, because I promise once you make that change, things will look different and you'll feel happy every day. In LA, when I moved here, I am happy every single day. When I was living in New York, I was chasing happiness, but I didn't realize it at the time. You don't realize these things until you finally get them and you realize, wow, I wasn't happy that whole time because I wasn't meant to be there. I basically was there longer than I was supposed to. And the final thing is dating. And I think a lot of people try to force relationships, and oh my gosh, it's sad to see, because especially as people get older, they settle, or if they're comfortable with a partner. And I think what I have noticed in my life is relationships and even friendships, the best ones happen when you're not looking, when you're not trying. And that's why, do you ever get that advice when, you're looking for a partner and you're on all of the dating apps and you're honestly you're forcing it. And you're forcing it, and you find a guy or a woman and you're like, I love everything about them just because they check 3 of your boxes, and you drop your standards. You lower your standards just because of desperation. You want to be in a relationship more than you actually like this person or have a connection with this person. And, yes, this is the advice that everyone gives, is once you stop looking, it'll come to you. And I hate to say it, but it's so factual. It's so true. My relationship now, I wasn't looking at all. I was literally on Instagram. And the story will come at a later date, but I realized that my relationships that I was maybe before forcing because they looked good on paper, or we had a good time, or we had a few similar interests. I was forcing it because I was really taking the bare minimum, even though that person was great. They weren't for me. They weren't my long-term partner. And then I stopped looking and everything aligns. And for you, if you are looking for a relationship, don't settle just because someone checks 3 boxes. Don't try to force a relationship. And that's why girls are they always say women are chasing because they go on one date. And I know you guys are probably guilty of this, or you have friends who are guilty. You go on one date and you're like, this is my soulmate because he checks these 3 boxes. The bare minimum. You know nothing about his family. You know nothing about his interests outside of like the couple that he shared over dinner or over drinks. You know nothing about him, but you go home and just because one date went well and you want a relationship so bad, you honestly brainwash yourself into thinking, this is my long-term partner. This is who I'm meant to be with. Why doesn't he feel the same? Well, because he is using logic here and realizing that just because you're a great girl doesn't mean that who he met tonight is who you are as a person. There's so many layers to you. And it goes both ways. You know, sometimes guys do fall in love the first date too, but I think there's so many people who are fixated on having a relationship that they fall in love with the idea of somebody, that first meet. But you need to stop forcing, and just let destiny take its course. That person, you'll end up bumping into them on the street through TikTok, social media, maybe, I don't even know. There's so many like different circumstances, but that's why they always say like the craziest and most beautiful love stories have a story. It's not like, oh, we met each other on Bumble or Raya. It's like, oh my gosh, I was traveling here and I met this person and I moved across the world for him or her, or there's just like such beautiful romantic love stories out there. And you can have that too. Romance is real, but you need to stop forcing it. And once you stop forcing relationships and forcing connections, and you stop looking for a partner, your soulmate will find you, and you'll find them at the same time in divine timing. And then that's it. Thank you, y'all. Until next time.